This is Jason. He makes about $4,500 a month. Every morning, he grabs Starbucks. Twice a week, he orders DoorDash. Once a month, he books a quick weekend trip because he says he has to enjoy life while he's young. By the end of the month, there's basically nothing left. This is David. He brings in around $40,000 a month. He makes his own coffee at home, packs lunch, rarely travels just to post about it. But he owns 3 rental properties, stakes in 2 businesses, and collects more passive income in a year than most people save in 5. And then there's Marcus. Marcus makes about what Jason makes. He spends about what Jason spends. Same income range, same pressure, same inflation, same bills. But a few years later, somehow Marcus has a paid-off car, money in the bank, a growing investment account, and a down payment ready for a house. So what happened? Today, we're going to use these 3 people and the way they spend money to break open one of the deepest truths about building wealth. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Because the real problem usually isn't that you don't make enough. It's that you've never been taught the difference between spending that makes you poorer and spending that makes you richer. That sounds obvious, but it isn't. Most people go their whole lives without learning it. They think all spending is the same. They think being good with money means either making more or cutting back. But that's too shallow. The real game is not how much leaves your wallet. The real game is what that money does after it leaves. Does it disappear? Or does it come back with friends? That's the first layer. Why is it that when some people spend money, it's consumption, but when other people spend money, it's investment? Ask yourself one question. What was the biggest thing you bought last month? If it was a new phone, a fancy dinner, a jacket you didn't need, concert tickets you put on a credit card, or some impulse Amazon haul you barely remember now, then that money is gone. Maybe it gave you comfort. Maybe it gave you entertainment. Maybe it gave you a little social status. But financially, it ended the moment you bought it. That's consumption. Now, if that same money bought a certification, a sales course, a laptop that lets you freelance on weekends, a camera that helps you launch a side business, a book that changes how you think about money, or even a gym membership that gives you more energy and discipline to perform better at work, then that spending has the potential to come back. That's investment. And before someone says, "So I'm never allowed to enjoy my life?" That's not the point. The point is not to turn you into a robot. The point is to make you conscious. Because every dollar you spend is choosing a future. Economists call this opportunity cost. In plain English, it means every dollar has multiple possible jobs, but once you assign it to one job, you fire it from all the others. When Jason spends $7 on coffee every workday, he thinks he's giving up $7. He's not. He's giving up what that $7 could have become if it had been used differently over and over again for years. He's giving up optionality. He's giving up compounding. He's giving up the version of himself that used small amounts of money to create larger amounts of money. David sees that same $7 and thinks differently. He says, if I keep this habit under control, what can this money help me do? Can it pay for a course? Can it fund ads for a side business? Can it help me attend a conference? Can it go into an index fund? Can it help me buy time, tools, or access? Marcus is different again. He doesn't necessarily skip the coffee, but he might use that same $7 to sit down with somebody smarter than him. He buys the coffee for a coworker who's already where he wants to be. He asks better questions. He learns which skills in his industry are actually getting people promoted. He hears about opportunities before they hit LinkedIn. He turns a tiny expense into relationship capital. That's still investment. And that's what most people miss. Spending is not defined only by what you buy. It's defined by what the purchase does for your future. Every time money leaves your hands, you are making a decision. Are you putting it into something that dies the moment you consume it? Or are you putting it into something that can grow, multiply, connect, or return? 10 years later, those decisions don't look small anymore. They look like 2 completely different lives. And here's where psychology enters the picture. Human beings are wired to overvalue immediate pleasure and undervalue delayed rewards. Behavioral economists call this present bias. You and I feel the joy of a milkshake, a new gadget, a night out, or a shopping cart checkout immediately. But the payoff from investing in a skill, building a network, learning sales, improving your health, or contributing consistently to your 401k feels slow and invisible at first. That's why average people keep choosing the thing that feels good now, and then act confused when someone else becomes financially free later. The problem is not intelligence. The problem is timing. Short-term pleasure screams, long-term payoff whispers. And if you never learn to hear whispers, you'll always be controlled by noise. Now let's go one layer deeper. A lot of people hear this and think, okay, got it. I'll just become super frugal. I'll cut everything. No coffee, no dinners out, no vacations, no new clothes. I'll save every penny and eventually I'll get rich. That sounds disciplined, but there's a trap hiding inside it. Because some people save so hard they accidentally shrink their life, their energy, their confidence, and their opportunities. They become so focused on not losing money that they never put money into anything that could expand them. And that's why some people save more and still stay broke, while other people spend more and keep getting richer. The world loves simple slogans like skip the latte. But no one builds serious wealth just by denying themselves small pleasures forever. Wealth does not come from permanent fear. It comes from intelligent allocation. Nobody becomes wealthy because they mastered deprivation. They become wealthy because they mastered direction. Warren Buffett didn't become Warren Buffett because he was cheap for the sake of being cheap. Yes, he lived below his means. Yes, he respected money. But the real reason he became wealthy is that he used money to buy assets. He bought productive things, businesses, stocks, cash-producing machines. That's the difference. There's a concept in economics called diminishing marginal utility. The first few dollars you save can dramatically improve your life. They create stability. They keep you from overdrafting. They stop emergencies from wrecking you. That matters. But after a certain point, squeezing every last dollar out of your life doesn't create much more safety. Sometimes it starts costing you more than it saves. You stop going places. You stop meeting people. You stop taking strategic risks. You stop paying for experiences that could expose you to better opportunities. You become optimized for survival, not growth. That's a dangerous place to live. If your financial strategy makes you smaller, more isolated, less capable, and less willing to act, it may look disciplined from the outside, but it's not building wealth. It's building a cage. So no, money is not created by spending less alone. Money is created by using money in ways that increase your future earning power, ownership, leverage, or access. And that raises the obvious question. What does it actually mean to spend money the right way? Here's a simple test. Before you spend meaningful money, ask yourself 3 questions. First, after I spend this money, can it come back? A new outfit might come back as confidence, sure. But usually the money itself is gone. A course that helps you negotiate a raise? That money can come back. A tool that helps you freelance? That money can come back. Training that helps you move from a $55,000 job to a $75,000 job? That money can come back many times over. Second, after I spend this money, does anything valuable still remain? If you buy dinner, the experience is over when the check is paid. If you buy software, equipment, a skill, a business asset, or even a relationship you've intentionally built through generosity and credibility, something still exists after the spending. And sometimes that thing keeps increasing in value. That's how wealthy people think. From the outside, it looks like they spend a lot. And they do. But look closely at what they're buying. Equity, skills, time, distribution, brand, real estate, knowledge, access, systems, attention. Those things stay. Third, after I spend this money, would anyone else be willing to pay me because of it? That question is powerful. If you spend money learning, copywriting, coding, sales, design, video editing, or bookkeeping, somebody may pay you for that ability. If you spend money improving your communication, leadership, or health, the market may reward you indirectly through better performance and better opportunities. If you invest in relationships with serious people, those relationships may lead to referrals, partnerships, introductions, or insight. That's what I mean by spending that converts into income. Jason fails all 3 tests most of the time. David passes them intentionally. Marcus passes them creatively. And that's why their outcomes split. Now let's move to the third layer, because this one quietly destroys more financial futures than low income ever will. Why do some people spend money to build substance, while other people spend money to buy image? Think about the most expensive thing you bought recently. Did you truly need it? Or did you buy it because other people had it, admired it, or would notice it. This is where behavioral economics gets brutally honest. Researchers have shown again and again that people don't just buy products. They buy signals. They buy status. They buy emotional permission. They buy a story about who they are. That's why people finance luxury cars they can't afford, upgrade phones they don't need, buy designer items with money they haven't earned yet, and move into apartments that eat half their paycheck just because the zip code feels like a personality upgrade. They're not buying function. They're buying proof. Proof that they matter. Proof that they're successful. Proof that they've arrived. But there's a fatal flaw in status spending. You can never win. Because no matter what level you buy into, there's always another level above it. You get the $400 sneakers, someone else has the $1,500 pair. You finance the BMW, somebody pulls up in a Porsche. You finally get the luxury watch, somebody else is posting their beach house. If your money is being used to keep up, you are playing a game designed by people who make money when you feel behind. The winners in that game are not the buyers, they're the sellers. And that's exactly why so many people with decent incomes still feel financially trapped. Their money is being routed into public proof instead of private progress. Jason buys limited edition sneakers so strangers know he has taste. David buys industry research so he can make better decisions. Jason upgrades to the newest phone to scroll faster. Marcus buys a used laptop and learns a skill that brings in another $1,000 a month. The difference is not always how much money is spent. The difference is where the money goes. This is the part most people resist because it's uncomfortable. We like to believe our purchases are personal, but a huge percentage of spending is social. It's influenced by comparison, envy, insecurity, marketing, and identity. We don't always buy what serves us. We often buy what helps us perform a version of ourselves. And that performance is expensive. You know what's crazy? A lot of people who look rich are under constant financial pressure. They have car payments, credit card debt, lifestyle inflation, and no breathing room. Meanwhile, someone who looks ordinary may have cash reserves, investments, no consumer debt, and options. Never confuse visible consumption with actual wealth. Real wealth is usually quieter than people think. Now here's the fourth layer. If you're a regular person, what should you actually do with your money starting now? Let me make this practical. Use the 3-bucket framework. Bucket 1 is survival money. That covers rent or mortgage, groceries, utilities, insurance, transportation, minimum debt obligations, and anything else that keeps your life functioning. This is non-negotiable money. It keeps the lights on. Bucket 2 is security money. This is your emergency fund. This is your cash buffer. This is the money that keeps one flat tire, one medical bill, one layoff, or one broken appliance from turning into a crisis. Park it somewhere safe and boring, like a high-yield savings account. This money is not for vibes. It is not for impulse purchases. It is not for I deserve it. It is there to buy peace. Bucket 3 is growth money. This is where your future gets built. This is the money you use to invest in yourself, buy productive tools, acquire assets, test ideas, build a side income, contribute to retirement accounts, buy low-cost index funds, pay for education that actually increases earning power, and make the kinds of moves that change your financial trajectory. The first 2 buckets help you stay alive. The third bucket helps you get ahead. And most people sabotage themselves because they spend everything in bucket 3 before it ever becomes growth money. They confuse relief with reward. They make a little extra and immediately upgrade the lifestyle instead of upgrading the machine that produces the lifestyle. That's why raises disappear. That's why bonuses vanish. That's why tax refunds get spent. That's why people can earn more every year and still feel stuck. More income does not automatically create more wealth. Only better allocation does. So every time you spend, run a fast mental checklist. After this purchase, does something valuable still exist? Can this purchase help me earn, save, or grow later? Am I buying this because I need it or because I want to be seen with it? That last question alone can save people years of financial damage. Because if the honest answer is, I'm buying this because everyone else has one, stop. Pause. Give yourself 24 hours. Most unnecessary spending dies in silence if you stop feeding it urgency. And here's another mindset shift that can change your entire life. Learn how to turn consumption into investment. Scrolling social media for 2 hours is consumption. But if you use that time to study content strategy, learn your industry, analyze creators, or identify business ideas, that same platform becomes a tool. Going out to dinner is consumption. But if you use that dinner to deepen a relationship with someone smart, trustworthy, and connected, it becomes relationship capital. Working overtime only for the paycheck is one thing. Using part of that overtime season to learn a higher value skill so you can eventually escape trading time for money? That's different. The action may look similar on the surface. The mindset changes the financial meaning. That's one of the deepest truths in money. The same dollar, the same habit can either trap you or build you, depending on how intentionally you use it. And this is where people who feel powerless can take their power back. Because maybe you don't have a massive income right now. Maybe you're not in a position to buy rental properties tomorrow. Maybe you've made money mistakes. Maybe you've been using spending as stress relief, identity therapy, or temporary escape. Fine. That doesn't disqualify you. It just means the game starts with awareness. You do not need to become perfect overnight. You need to become deliberate. Start noticing which expenses leave you emptier and which ones leave you stronger. Start noticing which purchases impress other people for 5 minutes and which purchases quietly improve your life for 5 years. Start noticing whether your money is serving your future or anesthetizing your present. Because that's what wealth building really is. It's not one big genius move. It's accumulated advantage. One better decision stacked on another. One smart allocation repeated over and over. One avoided trap. One useful skill. One productive relationship. One asset. One habit. 1 year of discipline. Then another. That's how people separate. Not overnight, but decisively. The writer Malcolm Gladwell once made the point that success is not random. It is the result of advantages building on advantages. Money works the same way. Every dollar you direct intelligently increases the odds that the next dollar will have more power. Every dollar wasted thoughtlessly increases the odds that you'll stay dependent on the next paycheck. So when you spend, don't just ask, "Can I afford this?" That is a weak question. Ask, what kind of life is this purchase voting for? Is it voting for short-term relief and long-term pressure? Is it voting for image over substance? Is it voting for dependence instead of ownership? Or is it voting for skills, options, freedom, leverage, resilience, and future income? Because whether you realize it or not, every dollar is a ballot. You are constantly voting for the life you're going to get. Vote for instant gratification, and you'll probably stay stuck in the now. Vote for future value, and you start laying bricks for freedom. That is the real bottom layer logic of wealth accumulation. Not just earning, not just saving, but spending in a way that makes tomorrow stronger than today. And once you understand that, the whole conversation around money changes. You stop asking, "How do I look rich?" and start asking, "How do I become hard to break?" You stop asking, "What can this money buy me today?" and start asking, "What can this money build for me later?" You stop being a customer first and start becoming an owner, an investor, a builder. That shift right there changes everything. Because you are not necessarily one raise away from peace. You may be one mindset shift away. And if you get that shift, truly get it, then even an average income can start behaving like seed capital instead of disappearing like water. That's the difference between Jason and Marcus. Same salary range, different spending posture, different future. So no, you're not always too poor to build wealth. Sometimes you've just been trained to spend in ways that guarantee you never will. Change that, and the scoreboard changes. That's it for today. Next time, we're going to talk about how to spot information gaps before everyone else does, and how that alone can become a financial advantage.